Hey Grumpies, Jason here, Grumpy Hair Instructor, and today it's going to be a little bit of a longer video, but we're going to cover a more in-depth tutorial on images, which will include positioning, padding, how to align them, and what other issues you may run into when you're trying to insert an image. So, as you load in your Grumpy Hair template, in order to put your image in a way that makes it smooth, easy, and most optimized, you want to match the image size and width, the height and width of that said image. Now, in order to do that, you need to find out what the width and height of that image is. So the way that, you can do it in multiple different ways, but the way I prefer it is to right click on your screen. Then, move your mouse down to Inspect. Click on that. This opens up your inspector. Your inspector is a powerful tool that's on any browser that will allow you to inspect and see different elements on your page. And we're going to use that to inspect this image here of Samantha to see what her width and height is. Alright, so your inspector pops up on the right. Click on the three dots on the right here. Go to dock side and click on this one so it docks to the bottom. The reason why we want to dock it to the bottom is because we want to make sure that our image isn't squished. It's okay if it's at the bottom because it doesn't change the width of your page, but having this on the right side or the left side changes the width of your page, which can inadvertently change how your image looks. And we won't get an accurate result if we do that. So, make sure to dock it on the bottom. Next, click on this cursor that allows you to hover your mouse over to inspect elements of your page. After that's blue, you can then drag your mouse over and make sure you're scrolled up, but drag your mouse over to the Samantha image and then you can see the dimensions. So at the very top there, you can see it's 340x 676. That is 340 pixels wide and 676 pixels tall. So, if you take your image and you modify it to be 340 pixels wide and 676 pixels tall, the exact dimensions of the Samantha image, you can insert your image without a single problem. The image is small, it fits perfectly, it'll just slide right in. Now, what happens if you have an image that doesn't quite meet that requirement? That's where you may run into a little bit of an issue there. So, in this case, I have a test image, courtesy of Ron, that I'm going to throw in here just to see what happens when my image doesn't meet that specification. So, my test image is 380 pixels wide, while still being 676 pixels tall. In this case, you want to at least match the height or the closest you can get to it. Again, if it is any bit different from the height that's displayed for her, it'll look a little off, but that's okay, because I'm going to show you how to adjust the image should you upload an image and you were not able to match those exact specifications. So, without further ado, let me upload the new test image. And through Ron's picture in here, then I'm going to hit select photo, and there it goes. So because this image is 380 by 676, it's close enough to Samantha's height that it fit in rather well. But if my image was different, then I may need to click over to Styles here to adjust the width. I could increase that or decrease it or increase it, and you can see how when I change the width, you can see how I get smaller or bigger, right? So say for example, your image was a little bit smaller. Still possible to make this work. You can see how Ron here is floating above the card. So you can hit advanced, and then you can take this top margin down a little bit. So we start off at -80, and you can play with the slider, and you can see what happens, right? So now I'm at 0, and Ron's fitting on it pretty nice, despite being a little smaller. You can raise it up, you can lower it. In order to raise him up, I would have to go negative numbers, like -40, for example. Or maybe -30, -20, -10. And there you can see the result of that. Now, if your image is a little bit to the left or to the right, not perfectly centered, then you can use these margins over here in order to change that as well. Here you can see that it's at -80, but if I was to change that to -40, for example, you can see how Ron moves over to the left some. If I was to put it at 0, you can see that he's all the way over to the left. And then if I was to play around with this, you can see what happens if I increase it even further. Ron ends up sliding closer and closer to the form. So if your image is a little bit wider too far away, play around with these margin settings, and then you can end up maneuvering your image so that it fits into the spot perfectly. And again, you can do negative numbers too by just typing in it. So you would put your cursor before the 15 and then do negative, and that would move Ron backwards. So -60 moves him backwards, -100 moves him even further backwards. Now, I did show this on the Samantha site, but this same idea of moving your images around can be applied to any and every image. In most cases, you won't need to maneuver it like this, but just in case you put in an image and it doesn't quite match the image dimensions, width and height, you may need to do some adjustments, whether that is adjustments to the width of your image, making it bigger or smaller, or adjustments to the margin, which is the position of it. Alright, that's it for this tutorial. I hope you have a wonderful grumpy day.